Friends and honored guests, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Keith Nelson, and I'm part of the team here in Washington, D.C. that represents the National Council of Investigation and Security Services, a national organization representing the interests of private investigators and security service operators for over 40 years. NCISS is not only active here in the nation's capital, but also in state houses throughout the country, helping ensure that their professions can thrive. For the past 5 years, I've had the pleasure of working with and for NCISS, and I'm privileged to call them colleagues and friends. I have never spent 3 days in Las Vegas with anyone, friends, family, or clients, so that should tell you something. Now, each year at the Hit the Hill Fly-In, we have a luncheon where we invite a member of Congress to speak with our group and to share some thoughts on matters before the nation. We've had some good programs, and we're always grateful for the opportunity to hear about politics and policy from our elected representatives. This year, however, is different. This year, we gather in this room with a special sense of thanks and gratitude. I live in Alexandria, and I'll never forget the morning of June 14th, 2017. It's not even a year ago, when I stepped out of the shower to news of shooting at a practice for the congressional baseball game. An annual event showcasing how people of goodwill but differing opinions come together to enjoy a quintessentially American game became an almost unimaginable scene of violence and terror as a deranged individual, and I'm not going to name him because he doesn't deserve it, opened fire on the practice, grievously wounding some of the people in this very room. Fortunately, Providence intervened. Two angels, in the form of members of the Capitol Police, were present that morning, and despite being outgunned, intervened to prevent what otherwise would have been a massacre, sustaining injuries themselves in the process. Our purpose here today in this luncheon is to honor them and recognize their bravery. Special Agents Crystal Griner and David Bailey, thank you very much for coming. I'm in a little bit of a handicap here because not even 2 minutes ago I broke my glass. The glasses broke off my face. So I can see what's immediately in front of me, but I can't see kind of like who's in the rest of the room. So I know that Congressman Scalise was going to be here. I also know Congressman Young is going to be here. So if you're here and I can't see you, I apologize. So otherwise, now I'm going to be quiet because I'm just like the lawyer lobbyist guy. And I'm going to hand this over to the good folks from NCISS who arranged today's luncheon to show their gratitude and their appreciation. So now I'll turn it over to Terry Meyer, NCISS President, for one more day.
We're just glad that the prayers were answered. Thank you. Keith is our lobbyist here, and every day that they're in session and introducing House bills, he lets us know if it has our interest and if it would pass and have an adverse effect on our industry. It's very important to us, and we've been coming here, this is our 42nd year, and we've become friends and almost family to some of the people from our states back home, Congress and senators and things. So they expect us, they know our needs and we know their needs, so we work with them and help them all the time. So we're glad to be a part of this. We're really honored to be here today for this celebration. That's what it is, it's great. And like you said, yeah, it's my last day here as president, into my tenure. So it's a great way to go out, and I appreciate everything. And we'll just let the next person come up there. Is he here yet? I think they said that. And this is our next year president starting tomorrow.
All right, well, I just want to thank everybody for who helped put on this great event. We have a lot of distinguished guests. The first one actually happens to be one of my old bosses. When I interned for Senator Grassley in college, Congressman David Young was Senator Grassley's chief of staff at the time, and today he's my congressman in Iowa. And one of the reasons I really respect Congressman Young He was actually the only congressman who suspended his pay when Congress did not pass a budget. And he did not get paid for 8 months. He was the only one who did that. So,
Wow.
among many other reasons, I have a lot of respect for Congressman Young. So without further ado, Congressman David Young.
Very good.
Hey, thank you. Now, unfortunately, Brad was an intern before Twitter and Facebook, so he's escaped. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I want to thank the Duffys for their kindness and their service and all of your service in what you do. It's a pretty interesting days out here, day after day, and I see Griner and Bailey and Chief Verderosa. Nice to see you. We, the Capitol Hill culture is very dysfunctional, but we see ourselves as a family, a dysfunctional family nonetheless, that looks out for each other and loves each other. Despite what you see here on the internet or the radio or on TV, you think that this place is just a meltdown and everybody hates each other. But there's a great deal of respect out here for one another. And I want to thank you for your service, and thank you for saving the life of my friend. Thank you for the strength that you showed that day, the resilience, and that you do every day. And I know you will do this every day. And thanks for your Chief for your training and the inspiration you give. God bless you. Thank you very much. So there's a lot going on, right? A lot going on, and not a lot of time left in this year. Unfortunately, it's campaign season. It's a political year, but we do have a lot of things that we want to get done, and that we are trying to build on some successes of the past this past year. I know that you all have some very important issues that you want to talk about with those that represent you. From drone surveillance, geolocation tracking, credit reporting, and making sure that that appropriate balance is there between your respect for privacy and also your ability to wanting to make sure that you do a good job for those that you serve. And so it's very, very important to make sure that you are exercising your First Amendment right. Hello, Steve.
How you doing?
I'm gonna make it. So we're And so these issues are important to you, and there are a lot of issues out there, and you really have to use your voice. You know, we've got a museum here in town called the Newseum. It's not a part of the Smithsonian Museum complex, but it is a museum nonetheless, and it's not too far from Capitol Hill. And the Newseum analyzes and showcases history, current events, and how they've been covered. And on the outside of the Newseum is the First Amendment chiseled in stone. We all know about our right. Freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly. But don't forget about the last part, the right to petition your government. And that's what you're doing. That's what you need to do. Don't forget that part of the First Amendment. It's very, very important and very, very valuable. And not just at the federal level, the local level, the county level, the state level. Make sure that those who represent you, and you are the bosses, are making sure that you're giving employee evaluations to those members who represent you at any level of government. It's very, very important. And I believe that it works. And that the louder you are, and as passionate as you can be, we listen. I love passion, but I also love civility. We have to make sure that we have a voice of civility out there. We seem to have lost our way here and there. And you hear a lot of rhetoric out there, on the left and on the right. And like I said, if you're watching TV, listening to the radio, and just checking out the internet, and you would think everything is melting away. But everybody out here, Republican and Democrat, I want to tell you, they love their country. They're here for the right reasons. They want to create opportunity. They want a safe environment. They want economic security for their constituents and families. And compromise does get done. To some, it's a really dirty word, right? Ooh, you're compromising, you're giving up your values. No. You don't have to give up your soul, your values, your principles. You may not get the whole loaf of bread, but you may get 3/4 of a loaf of bread. Take it. And a lot of what we do out here is bipartisan. Unfortunately, you don't hear about it, right? Because it's not controversial when you pass 10 anti-human trafficking bills, or you pass help for veterans. And the voices out there, the noise out there, it's not the norm that is here. And I've always vowed, and I know Steve is like this as well, to be pragmatic, be passionate, be civil. But when you start calling people names and get involved in some ugly rhetoric, when the table of solutions is set, those people are not sitting down at that table. And what happens then? They're ostracized. When they're ostracized, 700,000 plus people in their district are ostracized from the table. Congressional approval rating is 12%. Some think that's too high, right? And so you ask yourself, what can you do as one person? And one person I believe can make a difference. And so I know Steve does this, and my other colleagues on the left and right, they say, what can I do to help improve the trust between the people and their public institutions? And a lot of times, it's just showing up. It's making sure you're in your district and meeting with everybody across the political spectrum, because a lot of people just want to make sure that their voices are heard. I'm honored to introduce my colleague here, but we all know why we're really here, right? This is the extravagance it takes. Steve, this is an intervention. We love you, but it's time you get help. Steve is a good friend. He is my favorite Cajun, hailing from Louisiana. When I first came on board as a freshman in Congress, he reached out to me and just said, I don't want anything from you, I just want to get to know you. And relationships are very, very important on Capitol Hill, in life in general. I believe the good Lord made us for relationships with Him, and that He wants us to have relationships with others as well, because that's how we work together to get things done. I remember that day when we saw images on television, and many of us, our guts sank, and we sank to our knees in prayer. And I believe that Steve is here, and the good Lord inspired Crystal and David to do what they did because of the good Lord and the answer to prayer. You're a warrior, you're an inspiration, you're my favorite chief majority whip, and I hope you stay that way. But if you have other endeavors, let me know. I'd love to be helpful. God bless you, everybody. I want to introduce my favorite Cajun, and hopefully yours too, Majority Whip Steve Scalise.
Thank you so much for that, David. Hey, Jeff here. Look, a couple of colleagues popping up, but thank all of you for coming. And I just couldn't more strongly support the words that David said in terms of what we need to do to keep civility while fighting for the things that we are passionate about. We all come here in Congress to make this a better country, to preserve the American dream, to be able to pass it on to our kids, just like we've been able to inherit the greatest country in the history of the world. We want to be able to pass it on, and we don't always agree on how best to do it, but as we're working through those differences, you should never make your disputes personal, and I think that's what's helped David and I, and Jeff and so many others that that work to advance our cause, to be able to get more of the things that we want, even working with people that don't necessarily see it the same way. When you talk about why we're here today, I would not be here today without the heroic efforts of David Bailey and Crystal Griner. And you rarely hear the real positives of law enforcement. They have an incredibly tough job. They're there every day on the front line, and you never know when you're going to have to jump into action. And fortunately, it's rare where you do have to jump into action. But if that moment arises, you've got to be ready. And if you do your job a little bit wrong, it's going to be magnified all throughout the country. But when you do your job right, it's rarely discussed. this was a case where the entire country got to see what's great about the United States Capitol Police, what's great about law enforcement. And I think it's so fitting that the Duffy Award, which has a great history, is being given this year to two true heroes, two people who, when the shots rang out, they ran towards the danger. And if they weren't there, it wouldn't have just been me. It would have been probably 15 members of Congress mowed down. Probably would have been the greatest massacre and terrorist incident in the history of the United States government, where that kind of attack would have been carried out. And it wasn't. It wasn't for one reason, and that's because we had these two heroes that were there, who risked their lives and were shot in the line of action and the call of duty to save the rest of us. And even when it was over, they came to check on me, even while they were injured. And Crystal and I, you know, we were both in the hospital together, and we kind of exchanged our recovery stories together. In fact, I use these crutches because Crystal came in one day and she finally was she was off the boot where she could actually walk on crutches, and she had these kind of weird looking things, and I'm used to the ones that go into your armpit and really make your arms really sore and limit your mobility, but that's just the crutches we've always known. I said, Crystal, what are those? And she goes, oh, these things are great. So when I was doing my physical therapy and I was finally able to start walking on crutches, I tried out the old ones, and then I tried out these, and they were much better. And so I thank Crystal for that. And then she got to one, and she was then on a cane, and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I better like try to get to one so I can be like Crystal. And now she's walking without crutches at all. So congratulations to David and Crystal first for just inspiring everybody through their heroism and what they showed all of us about what is so great about law enforcement. The side that few people really get to see, but we got to see it on full display. And I'm here, and so many other members of Congress that were on that ball field, including Jeff, are here today, and Matt, Micah. We're here because of the heroism of these Duffy Award winners. So if I may bring up my heroes and two people that really do magnify and exemplify what's great about law enforcement. David Bailey and Crystal Griner. She's back at work. Then she would hold on a second.
For the benefit of our guests who may not know about the National Council of Investigation and Security Services, we're a 42-year-old association representing licensed private investigators and mid-sized security companies throughout the U.S. There are approximately 8,000 such companies in our country, employing over 800,000 security officers. Many investigators and security officers are former law enforcement members. We monitor legislation and meet annually in Washington to apprise Congress of issues and concerns related to our industry. Named for our first president, John J. Duffy of Davenport, Iowa, co-founder of Permar Security Services, the Duffy is the Council's highest honor. The award is presented every other year to an NCISS regular member who, by their specific deeds and accomplishments, has exhibited the highest standards of conduct and service to the private investigation and security services industries. In alternate years, the Duffy is awarded to a person or entity outside the regular membership who, for their specific service, heroism, or other exemplary deed, is being honored by the Council. Some of the past non-member recipients of the award include the International Association of Chiefs of Police in 1986, Edward Del Pino, retired NYPD police officer who disarmed the attacker on the Staten Island ferry that killed 2 and wounded 9, Harry Rakowski Jr., who in 1994 disarmed the gunman who fired 29 rounds into the White House. President Clinton, who had just returned home from the terror-ridden Mideast, joked it was good to be safe at home. The award was also presented to New York Port Authority Detective Thomas McHale, wounded in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and a first responder in 9/11. The Molly Bish Foundation, in memory of murdered daughter Molly, who distributes child ID kits to help locate missing children. And Joseph Sestaro, Chicago PD, and U.S. Army Bronze Star winner. At this time, I would like to ask past President James Huckabee to make the presentation.
First of all, like everybody else, I do want to express my great gratitude for these officers, our congressional members and senators who are part of this room today. This is a great turnout. Again, my name is James Huckabee, and I'm a past president of NCISS. So, investigators who conduct surveillance investigations would tell you that it's 90% boredom and 10% panic. Security officers and police officers are responsible for protecting our citizens and property in America. It will tell you the same thing. Training and retraining is an event that never happens within the territory. Today we're here to honor two agents who epitomize what is best about our profession. Agents Griner and Bailey were called to step up. They stepped up to the plate, literally. Ironically, it's at a baseball field. Like many heroes, their monster said they were just following their training. Maybe so, but we also know they courageously reacted in fearless determination. This was not a fair fight. The assailant was armed with a rifle and agents just had handguns. Yet, in spite of their own injuries, they were able to advance and neutralize the shooter. They truly are heroes. The Capitol Police are extremely proud in their alma mater at Hood College in North Carolina University, Central University, are singing the praises of these two. On behalf of the National Council of Investigation and Security Service, it is our distinct honor to present the John J. Duffy Award to Capitol Police Agents Crystal Griner and David Bailey.
Hang on, James. One more close here.